Welcome to the Podkey summary of Unlock in-game content with StoreKit and Background Assets from WWDC 2026. Apple's making a pretty direct pitch to game developers here. Ship bigger games, waste less storage, and make buying and downloading feel smoother once players are already in the game. The big pieces are managed background downloads for huge asset packs, smarter language-specific installs, easier tools for Unity and Steam-based workflows, and a redesigned payment flow that ties purchases to delivery more cleanly. The headline feature is Managed Background Assets, which lets apps pull down heavy stuff like audio, video, textures, or machine learning models only when they're actually needed. That matters because a lot of modern games are enormous, and bundling everything into the initial app download is rough on both storage and patience. Apple says developers can host up to 200 gigabytes of assets per app through the developer program, which is a very real amount of game. So the basic idea is simple. Get the player into the app faster, then fetch the big content in the background instead of making day one feel like moving apartments. iOS 27 also adds localized asset packs, and this is one of those practical features that sounds small until you picture a giant multilingual game. Developers can tag packs by language, and the system installs only the assets that match the player's preferred language, instead of dropping every language on every device. That can save a ton of space, especially for games with lots of voiceover, text, or video. And if a specific regional version isn't there, the fallback is graceful. English UK can fall back to English US, and if needed, it can fall back again to the app's primary language. Apple's also trying to make this less painful for teams that already have a PC pipeline. There's a command line tool called BA Package that converts Steam Depot manifests into Apple-hosted asset pack manifests, so developers don't have to reinvent their content layout from scratch. Right now it runs on macOS with Xcode 27, and Apple says Linux and Windows support is coming, which is important because game teams are rarely living on one machine in perfect harmony. For Unity developers, Apple's offering 2 new C# plugins that expose native Apple frameworks for both Managed Background Assets and StoreKit. The nice part is that developers can work with these systems without dropping into Objective-C or Swift, just to wire up core features. They require Unity 2022 LTS or newer and Xcode 27, and they're built with a Python script. Apple's also including sample code for common jobs, like fetching products, starting purchases, and tracking asset download status, which is exactly the sort of hand-holding people appreciate when deadlines are real. Testing gets a boost too. Xcode 27 includes a background assets mock server that can automatically serve package asset packs during a debug session. That means developers can test the full download flow end-to-end without leaning on the live app store. Pair that with a StoreKit configuration file, and they can simulate purchase UI, transaction updates, and asset delivery in one controlled setup. Which is less glamorous than a flashy feature. But honestly, it's the kind of thing that prevents a lot of late-night misery. Apple's also giving games a little more visual presence on the storefront side. Developers can now add header images and videos to their product pages, and those assets can show up in Apple Games app search results for extra visibility. Those same visuals also carry into the redesigned system payment sheet in iOS 27, which helps the purchase experience feel more like part of the game's world instead of a hard break from it. The payment sheet now supports landscape too, so on larger screens players can buy content without being yanked out of the game view. And because it works with StoreKit's verified transaction API, purchases stay secure and can be tied directly into background asset downloads right away. Put together, this is Apple smoothing out a whole chain: discovery, purchase, download, and storage. For players, the win is pretty straightforward. Less waiting, less clutter, and fewer moments where your phone politely informs you that it's full again. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.